lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Those were the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was a civil rights and religious leader who was set apart by his messages of love, hope, and unity. He traveled all around the country during the civil rights movement to teach us messages on equality and having a dream, a hope for something different, so that one day we could be judged by the content of our character rather than the color of our skin. Now, this year in Houston, we are keeping the dream alive. Dr. Martin Luther King, his legacy will be commemorated with the Martin Luther King Jr. Parade, which will be Monday, January 13th. Is that right?
Monday, January 15th.
January 15th. Monday, January 15th. Starting at Minute Maid Park, which is in downtown Houston. I am here with Miss Ivy Okoro.
Yes, ma'am.
And she is going to be representing the Black Heritage Society. Tonight we're just going to find out a little bit about what it is that you do with the Black Heritage Society, what your inspiration is behind the parade, and then this year is the 40th anniversary, I understand, of the Martin Luther King Parade. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. This is Conversations, and my name is Ashley Aborshade. So Ivy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the Black Heritage Society. We want to just know what it is, how you guys got started, and what the vision is behind that society.
Okay, so the Black Heritage Society is one of Houston's most recognized and prestigious organizations when it comes to activism, civil rights, and really standing up for those who are disadvantaged. The organization was founded back in the early 70s by Mr. Obadiah Duncantel. He is a recognized figure. Obadiah Duncantel, yes. He is a recognized figure who has continued to champion, using his time, his energy, his sweat, and especially his voice to make sure that he stands up for individuals who are not often represented in our society. Mr. Duncantel actually founded the organization in the early 70s, but what the organization really came into prominence for was back in January of 1978, when they kicked off the first ever MLK parade in the United States. And
it started in Houston.
It started right here in Houston. Cool. So Mr. Duncantel, along with other notable figures here in the greater Houston area, they came together and they mobilized, and along with the blessing and also with the participation of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s father, Martin the Sr., they went ahead and they kicked off the first ever MLK parade celebration down Southmore Boulevard, which is now recognized as MLK Boulevard down in 3rd Ward. And for the past going on 40 years without any break, they have consecutively put on the parade to continue to highlight and recognize the legacy of Dr. King.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So in 40 years, so many things could have happened. I mean, that means you guys started in 1978. Do you have any memorable moments that you would like to share, or any unforgettable stories?
Yes, actually, some of the obstacles that the organization has overcome over the years, and then also some of the highlights I should add as well, includes the fact that they actually have gone through a lot to establish what is now known as the Houston Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Plaza, located at McGregor Park in 3rd Ward, right around the corner from the University of Houston and from TSU. And they actually engulfed themselves in a lot of heat back and forth with the city and other entities and so forth to ensure that they can continue to preserve the tree of life that Dr. King's father planted. And that is such a historical moment for us, because to know that the direct lineage of Dr. King, his own father, participated in a process that is now very historic to our city and contributed something of great value, they really did have to go through some hurdles. And for anyone that would like to actually read up a little further on, the proposition, the referendum and everything, they can actually actually visit our website at www.blackheritagesociety.org. So in addition to establishing the Memorial Plaza at McGregor Park, which they are the official curators of, they have also had the opportunity to work with a lot of notable organizations over the years, including the NFL, through the partnership with the Houston Super Bowl committee. They've had an opportunity to work with the 18th and 9th Congressional District for Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and Congressman Al Green. They've also had the opportunity to continue to do incredible partnerships with organizations such as CITGO, the National AFLCIO, who is actually one of our community partners for this year's parade as well too, Fiesta, HEB, and a lot of really, really great people throughout the community as well. So,
great. Yeah. And our audience may or may not have a good idea of what exactly the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. Is here in this city, but also in this country. There are a lot of people who are watching us who may be from West Africa or beyond. So I want to just kind of spend some time educating. I have an interesting background. I am Liberian.
Right.
I grew up in the United States. I came to the United States from Germany when I was 5 years old. So I have always kind of been stuck in the middle like Moses. I grew up as an Egyptian, but I'm actually the other one. How he was stuck between the Egyptians and the Israelites.
Oh yes.
So of course so basically, I'm an African, but I grew up in America, looking like an American, talking like an American, and so I've always kind of been, I've been in conversations where I literally have heard, African Americans make all kinds of jokes about Africans and this and that, and then I've been in conversations where Africans are, looking down on African Americans.
Absolutely.
And I always think, as far as African Americans go in this country, Africans wouldn't even be here going to great schools and living the lives that we do if it wasn't for the sacrifices of African Americans that came before us, who were,
Absolutely.
bitten by dogs and sprayed by water hoses. But what I think is really notable is that when all this was going on, Dr. Martin Luther King rose as this voice of reason, that any reasonable person could listen to and relate to. And I think that is why his messages came across so strongly to people of all different races and religions. Would you agree with that?
I definitely agree with that. Dr. King, he had this presence about himself. He had this grace. He had this aura about himself, that he recognized how critical times were. He recognized that as a nation, we were at a breaking point where we just were not going to continue to, be pounded down upon. We were pretty much at that civil unrest. And Dr. King used his voice, he used his platform, and he used his wisdom to make an impact. And his words, they shook rooms so much that, obviously, unfortunately, he was assassinated April 4th, I believe 1968 was the exact date. So April 4th, and we actually do an observance here in Houston with the Martin Luther King Jr. Parade Foundation and the Black Heritage Society every single year, which I'll get into more details about. But I do want to emphasize that Dr. King made a very, very poignant impression, not just on Black people, but people of all walks of life. And that is one of the reasons why this parade was established, with the blessing of the King family, with the blessing of Dr. King's father, with the blessing of the King Center in Atlanta, Georgia, who we hold our license with, and with the helpful support of many notable members here in our Houston community that lived to see that day 40 years ago. And right now, we are living in times where we are still experiencing the climax of some of the, residual effects of what has happened throughout history and so forth, and now more than ever is a time where we need to continue to exercise these type of activities so that we can continue to orchestrate what Dr. King stood for, what he intended, what he has always advocated for, to ensure that, we can all coexist and live in peace and harmony, but then also that Black people matter as well too, that they have a voice, they have a platform, they are intelligent, they are wise, and we are far beyond greater than what you see on beyond the surface. So to kind of wrap all of that up, I think that is imperative that for individuals who may not be as familiar with Dr. King, he matters a great deal, because the truth of the matter is, if not for the sacrifices that individuals like Dr. King made, because he is not the only one, but definitely maybe one of the most recognized figures in the world, but figures such as himself, if not for them making those sacrifices, we may not have the opportunities that we have today. This was only half a generation ago that most of these events happened. Like, many of our parents and grandparents, they're still alive. They witnessed these things,
I mean, 1978, that seems like it wasn't even that long ago.
Not very long ago, and I mean, we were just around the corner from probably coming into the world around that time, but.
So, civil rights is such it's an elephant in the room, but then it's also just, there's so much to it, right? Civil rights, what a person deserves as an equal member of society. That has, it's been such a point of contention, especially in politics lately.
Right.
Everything that's going on with police violence and things like that. What do you feel like the significance is for this year of celebrating and remembering the legacy of Dr. King?
I think that the significance of what we're experiencing this year with celebrating Dr. King is that we are still on the journey to rising far beyond what we ever imagined. Very often I hear people saying, oh, why in 2018 are we still celebrating the first African-American this or that? Because the reality is that this country, the foundation of this country was built on the platform that does not often advocate and promote people of color. Very often has already ingrained within itself stereotypes and mentalities and abuse that continues to show its face. If it's not Rodney King from 20-something years ago, then it's Trayvon Martin today. So, this history continues to repeat itself, and it would be very ignorant of us to think that, hey, you know what? It's all brushed under the rug. If we don't continue to use the platforms that we have to be truthful and speak our truth and really recognize what's happening, then we are definitely doing a disservice for our future generations. And I would like to believe that Dr. King wants us to continue to have realistic views about what's happening. It's not about turning our backs against our brothers and sisters. It's about being realistic. It's about being open, being receptive, and then also finding solutions as well too. He was definitely someone who was all about nonviolence. He was about coming to the table and finding a solution and making things happen. And I would like to think that the Black Heritage Society has continued to do that as an organization.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you guys will be teaming up with the AFLCIO union organization.
Oh, yes,
Could you tell us a little bit about how the work that you do goes hand in hand with the work that they do?
So I definitely want to recognize the National AFL-CIO. They are an organization that has been around for generations. As a matter of fact, for a lot of African Americans and just Americans in general, you may have mothers or fathers or aunties and uncles, grandparents who are union workers. This is an organization that represents all of those unions. And Dr. King had a really big place in his heart for the AFL-CIO. Throughout the period of his life's work, you will see in his history that he often attended the AFL-CIO conventions and addressed them as well too. So to kind of answer your question though, the AFL-CIO, we know how important they are in our communities because they are the ones that continue to reflect what the needs are of workers throughout communities nationwide. And we're really, really excited that this year they're able to come into the Houston area, and with the support of Mayor Sylvester Turner, they are getting the opportunity to really demonstrate their platform and also come and join us for our day of service on Saturday. I almost said March, January 13th, and throughout the duration of the weekend.
It's great that they can be a part of this. And I want to, as we come back from the commercial break, what I want to get into is just a little about the underbelly of society. I want to talk about what it is that people need to know about their role in what's happening in the world around them, in their neighborhood. So often we hear about all these things in the news and we don't always know what to do, right? There's a shooting going on in Vegas, and then there's a terrorist attack going on in Boston, but there are things that are happening right in your neighborhood that you can get plugged into and start to make a real notable difference. I would like to educate our generation, and we are both millennials. I'd like to educate our generation about what exactly it means to be an advocate or an activist, and how exactly you can do that in today's current society. Yeah, we'll be right back talking to Mrs. Ivy Okoro about the National Black Heritage Society and the upcoming Martin Luther King Jr. Parade. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. We are back with Mrs. Ivy Okoro, Miss Ivy Okoro, yes. And we are talking about the 40th anniversary of the Martin Luther King Jr. Parade here in Houston. It's going to take place Monday, January 15th at 10 a.m.
At 10 a.m.
10 a.m. is going to start in Minute Maid Park. Now, we are having a great conversation here. Right before we took a break, what we were talking about was millennials. We were talking about what exactly Martin Luther King's legacy and his contributions mean to us here in 2018. What exactly we can do about some of the things that are happening in our neighborhood, in our country, and in our world. What exactly it means to be an advocate or an activist in this time. So, Ivy, if you could give some tips or some recommendations for somebody who may, see what's going on around them, they may be of any race, and they just want to do something. You see all the things that are happening in the news with police violence and things that are happening with Flint's water supply and things like that. What can we do?
The keyword is mobilize, and then the second keyword I like to use is connect. There's always opportunity, whether it's formal or informal, to mobilize and connect. So I will use an example. When the Flint water crisis occurred, and I believe that was about like a year ago, right around the time of the parade, one of the opportunities that the Black Heritage Society created in partnership with other community organizations and networks and neighborhoods throughout the greater Houston community was to bring in trucks, bring in water from around the greater Houston area. We created different stop points throughout the greater Houston area in different cities. A lot of community centers and a lot of churches opened their doors so that we can make sure that these community members can bring these items and supplies that the people up in Flint needed, and we were able to put those up on trucks, and we were able to get that out to Michigan. So it was definitely an incredible effort that our organization made, but definitely maybe just a speck in one of the many things that we do. But I say all of that to say I think that what you have to do is you got to identify where you can now start to make a solution. And sometimes that can just start from home. If you feel as though you're passionate about something and there's something that you want to do, gather people in your community, your loved ones, your family members, your friends, and have that conversation about, hey, this is what I've identified. This is a possible solution that I would like to execute, and start to identify how you can go about that. If you feel as though you don't have the support to make those things happen, consider looking up an organization within your local area that can be of support. So, for example, if you ever needed any type of support, for example, when it comes to, medical aid and so forth, there's definitely organizations throughout the Houston area that you can look into, or if it had to do with, going through any type of situation where you may have been unfairly treated, the ACLU of Texas, they have legal resources as well too. So there's definitely always organizations based on whatever that cause is or that industry may be that you're trying to focus in on that you can get involved with. And definitely Black Heritage Society, the founder, Mr. Obadiah Duncantel, along with their executive board, if there's ever anything happening in the community, they definitely would love to be informed, and they're always an organization that's always ready to either support you or point you in the right direction.
Okay, that's awesome. I want to also talk about this. There are many Africans who are watching us, people who are either of African descent or were born in Africa,
right,
at some point in their life. Why should they get involved? Why should they care?
Because you're a part of this society too. This is your legacy. It does not matter if you are an immigrant or you are first or second generation American, such as you and myself. It is ultimately our responsibility, because once you are a part of this society, you are a part of the fold. Anything that happens impacts you as well. It would not be wise to assume that because you come from a certain lineage, or you are, maybe you're a contemporary African American, to say the least, that certain matters would not arise or impact you. You will be surprised that the moment that you endure and experience something that you never had thought would or imagined could happen to you, how it really affects you psychologically, emotionally, and even spiritually. So I think that it's worth the effort. It's worth the opportunity to definitely explore and make sure that you connect with the community. Make sure you go outside of your normal circle to really see what's going on and what's happening. That's the only way that we can continue to break barriers and understand individuals who come from different walks of life, different races, different creeds, religions, and so forth.
Awesome. So I think that's a challenge.
It's definitely a challenge
to get out of our comfort zone and stop, hanging around with the people we always hang around with. Make some new friends. Have some somewhat uncomfortable conversations about things that are happening in society today. One of the things I love about Houston, I've been here about 4 years, is the willingness to move forward. Always. For you to say that the first MLK parade took place in Houston, it's surprising, but then it's not. This is H-Town.
It's H-Town, right?
That's what we do. We move forward.
Yeah.
Look at what we did after Hurricane Harvey. We
quickly
move forward from that. A lot of people are still working to get their homes and things in order, but as a city, I was so impressed with the leadership of Mayor Sylvester Turner during that time, his communication skills and things like that. But just the people of Houston, how everybody just got together and just decided, this is not going to get us down. I think that we can take that attitude, apply it to modern day civil rights, and really make a huge impact in this state and in this country. So we're kind of wrapping up here, but I just want to talk about this thing, keeping the dream alive. What's the vision behind that thing?
So the vision behind keeping the dream alive is just that, keeping the dream and the words and the vision and the hopes of Dr. King alive through our actions, through what we do as a society every single day. One thing I want to really emphasize to all the viewers is that the Black Heritage Society and this MLK parade, we're often very popularly known for the parade, but we do a lot more than just the parade.
Could you just tell us a little bit about the Taste of Houston? It's going to be right after.
Oh yes, okay. So following the 40th annual MLK parade, we will have our second annual MLK Taste of Houston taking place in Lot B of Minute Maid Park. That will kick off at 12 noon until about 4:30 p.m. That will be a great afternoon of fun, entertainment, music, children's activities, and everything in between. And we're inviting everyone to kick back after the parade for a couple of hours and have a great time with us. You'll get the opportunity to see many of our notable leaders from around the greater Houston area, and it should be great. So make sure you guys stop by after the parade. That kicks off at 10 a.m. Stick by.
Any restaurants we can look forward to there?
I will say that we will have an update on that very soon. I don't have that on me right now, but we'll have it. But we will definitely have food vendors on site, definitely shopping and children's activities, live music, and opportunities to meet and greet some of your favorite people from around the area. For those of you that don't know, the Grand Marshal for this year's parade is award-winning singer and songwriter Miss Leela James. A lot of you probably listen to all of her popular songs on the radio and everything like that. She will be our Grand Marshal, and she will make an appearance at the Taste of Houston as well.
So we are all planning to be at the parade, right, on Monday. We're gonna, meet there with our loved ones. We're gonna have a great time after the parade. The legacy is still as important. The civil rights issues are still as important. What can the concerned citizen do? How can it connect with the Black Heritage Society after the parade?
Okay, well, all you have to do is visit our official website at www.blackheritagesociety.org. You can also give us a call directly at the office at 713-236-1700 to remain connected. We are always looking to grow our membership base. We have a lot of different programs and initiatives that we have going. In the upcoming future, we will continue to work on different programs, including our MLK STEMS program, where the children around the greater Houston area area that is led up by Miss Ebony Davis with Black Heritage Society, and she's done a really great job on that program. Major thanks to CITCO for supporting us on that program over the years. We also have our MLK candlelight vigil that will take place on April 4th. This is something that we do by tradition to recognize and to also observe the assassination of Dr. King that took place several decades ago. We will also have upcoming things such as the scholarship pageant, the Mountaintop Gala, and then, of course, keeping the campaign going with the MLK Memorial Project as well, too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, Ivy, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, do you have a social media page or Facebook or anything that we could do?
Yes, they can reach me at facebook.com /Evomah Communications, and that is spelled EVOMAHCOMM Communications with an S.
My communication.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's perfect. So, is there anything that you want to share with us before we wrap up?
No, I'm really excited. I want to give that call of action for all of you to make sure that you join us on Monday, January 15th from 10 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. in downtown Houston. And then also, if you would like to kind of get started with us, join us on Saturday, January 13th for the Children's Parade taking place at McGregor Park, followed by our day of service and also the Feed the Hungry. And so we'll be out at McGregor Park on Saturday from 10 a.m. till about 4 p.m. and then at Minute Maid Park.
Okay, great. Well, we want to thank Mr. Duncantail and all the great folks at the Black Heritage Society for bringing this awesome parade to Houston and keeping it going year after year. We hope you guys have a terrific 40th anniversary.
Thank you.
And see you out there.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ivy.